With this what would stretch focus training, which has appeared to have cracked the code to create the muscle. You may be gaining muscle at a rate that is almost twice as fast as it is at the moment. You shouldn't just take my word for it, though. I've gathered my elite crew of researchers to delve into the science, separate the good from the bad, and determine the best way to use this training to build muscle faster. Normally, when you lift weights, your muscles contract to lift the weight up and then stretch to lower the weight back down, but something special seems to be happening. Stretch-mediated hypertrophy is the name that researchers have given to the intricate process that the muscles use to tell the body to grow more muscle after it detects a stretch in the contractile units. More detailed research has only lately become available. 4 studies I want to look at, each testing a different muscle group, actually put this theory to the test, and the results were quite surprising, even to me. The first 2 studies looked at what would happen if you only perform the bottom part of an exercise where the muscle is stretched. In one of the 2 studies that were just published last year, preacher curls were used to test this. After 5 weeks, the subject's biceps were measured, and those who only performed the bottom half of the curl showed 2.6 times more growth than those who only performed the top half. Really awesome, no? Another study, also published just last year, used a nearly identical design, but this time on the leg muscles using leg extensions. They had subjects perform the bottom versus top half of the leg extensions and another group who did the full range of motion. They measured the growth of the quad muscles at 4 different sites. After 12 weeks, growth at nearly every single measurement point was greater for the group who only performed the bottom half of the leg extensions. Now, these 2 studies emphasize the significance of the bottom position of your exercises because that is when your muscle is stretched the most. We'll discuss what this means for your training later, but first, what about exercises that can put your muscles into an even more stretched position than traditional exercises? Here are 2 studies that examine that question. The first study was conducted on the triceps. To avoid favoring one arm over the other during each workout, the subjects in this study alternated which arm they trained first. This is in accordance with the stretch focus training theory because the overhead position puts one of the triceps heads, the long head of the triceps, into a position of greater stretch when the muscle is stretched. Before moving on to the next study, can we just give the participants from the previous tricep study a big round of applause? These guys are literally walking around with one arm 1.5 times bigger than the other. After 12 weeks, the overhead arm experienced about 1.5 times more growth, not just in the long head of the triceps but surprisingly in all 3 heads of the triceps. Okay, let's go on to the last investigation. The last study I'd like to talk about involved the hamstrings. In this case, 2 groups of subjects were assigned to perform different exercises. One group performed seated leg curls, and the other group performed lion-like curls. Since 3 of our 4 hamstring muscles extend from the hip to the knee, sitting in a seated position lengthens these muscles more than standing does. Can you determine which exercise was the most effective based on this? After 12 weeks, seated leg curls considerably increased the size of these 3 hamstring muscles compared to lion leg curls. Okay, now that we've covered all the research, let's move on to the practical. How can you use this information to possibly accelerate your gains? I have 3 training suggestions for you. However, before we get started, I do want to point out that science is constantly changing and evolving, especially in new fields of research. However, as of now, I do believe there is enough evidence supporting what I'm about to share with you, at least enough to start experimenting. We'll have to wait and see how the science advances over the coming years, but in the meantime, let's get started with these suggestions. If you follow me on Instagram, I'll keep you guys informed of new studies and my own findings. The first advice is applicable to all of your workouts. For example, while bench pressing, bring the bar all the way to your chest instead of stopping short, and when performing curls, think about adding dumbbells to achieve an even deeper stretch. When squatting, completely extend your arm at the bottom and descend to at least parallel, or even further if you can. Additionally, make sure you're actually controlling the weight down to the bottom position, and then when you get there, resist the urge to cheat or bounce out of it using momentum. This is frequently one of the hardest parts of the movement, and you'll be tempted to cheat, but resist the urge. The next tip has to do with your exercise selection. To be honest, you don't need a bunch of specialized exercises. You already know that the tried and true exercises like bench press, curls, and squats all place your muscles in a deep stretch position when performed with a full range of motion. However, as we previously discussed, there are some muscles that may benefit from being stretched more than others. These are the so-called biarticulate muscles, which cross over 2 joints rather than just one and can therefore be positioned in different ways. The first 2 are the hamstrings and triceps, as we saw earlier. Using exercises with exceeded leg curls and any sort of triceps overhead extension will provide a greater stretch and promote more growth. However, until more muscle groups and exercises come up in future research, here are the 4 muscles and exercises I'd be comfortable recommending that you incorporate. One last muscle I'd like to mention is the biceps. One of its heads, the long head, can be stretched even further by completing a modest incline curl or a behind-the-body cable curl. Although there isn't currently concrete evidence, it appears highly probable to produce a better fit. Last but not least, here is a more advanced technique that I like to call length and partials. So given how crucial the bottom position seems to be for growth, why not spend more time in it? Here's one way of doing it. Romania deadlift squats and split squats will likely be your best bet since they challenge your goods in that old important stretch position. Before I share this technique, however, please be aware that you shouldn't use it on heavy exercises like squats, deadlifts, and overhead presses. You also shouldn't use it frequently because it can be quite exhausting. However, you can use it occasionally during your very last set of a safe exercise like a dumbbell press. Leg extensions for flies, extension of the triceps and bicep curl. Once you are unable to perform any more reps of the entire range of motion, attempt this. Completing half reps in the bottom position to finish your set and exhaust your muscles in that stretch position. If you guys can't tell, I'm fascinated with taking every available measure to make the most of my time and effort. In an online program created to use science to expedite your transformation, I combined what I knew and all the most recent research 4 years ago. These programs have since transformed the lives of more than 100,000 individuals who are committed to achieve their fitness goals. I appreciate you guys joining me along this incredible journey. To join our community today and start pushing the boundaries of your potential, click the link in the description box down below or on the pinned comment in the comment section. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.